What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports to help give you the edge for this NBA 11-game slate. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys want to be entered into the $25 giveaway that we will announce on the live stream later today, please like, subscribe, and comment your favorite GPP option for the slate. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future NBA content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.patreon.com/DGFantasy for more information. On Patreon, we give advanced cheat sheets for all DFS sports on DraftKings. These cheat sheets include updated projections, ownership, and our overall favorite plays from slate to slate. We take it a step further by teaching you how to play fantasy sports like a shark, by showing you where the best leverage spots are to put you in the best spots to take down tourneys. Also included is our private Discord chat where you get to talk over the slate with everyone, including our coaches, to help build your lineups. Now let's go ahead and dive right into this NBA 11-game slate. We have a massive slate to end the week. But first, let's go over some Patreon success here. We have some more success for NBA. I think these are all NBA pictures except for this one. NHL, guys. They've been crushing in the NHL chat. Turned $17 into $123. We have almost a takedown in NBA yesterday. $40 into $200. One of our favorite GPP type contests. Very small ones. Only 29 people in here. And you're looking at a crazy ROI. $40 into $200. 24 into $110. And that was basketball yet again. $41 into $205. And last but not least, $540 into $1,795. So success all the way around for our Patreon members. I know TJ had a great night. We won't talk about it because he could have had a better night. Maybe we'll touch base on it in the live stream. Won't waste any time now. But let's go ahead and go over the injury report for this slate. First of all, we have Houston out with everybody pretty much. We have Christian Wood, John Wall, obviously. James Harden is gone off that roster as well. Kevin Porter got traded there over last night, I believe. It was sometime earlier in the night last night. He's not going to be on the court for this road trip that they have upcoming, starting with them playing Detroit. Daniel House is out. Exum is out. Nothing going on with Detroit. Orlando, not too much going on. Indiana, not too much going on other than Warren being out. With Chicago, we have Wendell Carter Jr., who is questionable, more leaning towards doubtful. So we will have to calculate some numbers. We'll go over that in just a second. With Chicago, Charlotte, everybody's back. With Brooklyn, Kevin Durant just got deemed questionable. So if he is held out, that's usually not a good sign when he's given that questionable tag early on in the day. We're going to be paying attention here to Kyrie Irving and James Harden. With Cleveland, nothing going on there. Boston, not too much going on other than Tatum being out. Philly, nothing going on. Miami, we still have Jimmy Butler out, so we'll be paying attention there. With Atlanta, we have a lot of questionable tags here in the pace-up matchup, so this is going to be noteworthy. We're going to probably wait to talk about them a little bit later on in the day, specifically on their live stream. With Minnesota, Karl Anthony Towns, Ricky Rubio, Hernan Gomez is out. With Dallas, we have Finney-Smith, Kleber, Powell, Richardson. With OKC, we have Horford out, and then nothing after that. That's really noteworthy. Okay, I can take a breath now. We have a lot of injury news all over the place, but let's go ahead and start with the very obvious one. We're gonna start out, TJ, if you don't mind, with Houston and Detroit. We have everybody out except for Oladipo and pretty much DeMarcus Cousins. So let's talk about them. Starting out, we have DeMarcus Cousins priced at $4,400. Is he a lock for cash playing 26 minutes?
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. I don't have anything else to say. It's obvious.
Yeah.
Lock in Boogie in cash, 4,400, gonna play 26 minutes, stays out of foul trouble. He easily pays off that price tag. Gonna be the chalkiest guy on the slate. So yes, play Boogie in cash. Simple as that.
1.36 fantasy points per minute with a 28.1% usage, and that's taking off every single person that we just mentioned, including John Wall. So that's only going to help his usage rate. Same thing with Victor Oladipo. $8,000. He only got a $200 price increase, and I don't get it because he's been crushing value every single time. I think he should be. I think we're going to see him get into that mid to 8 to 9K range. Right now, he rates still very well on their sheet, TJ. Do you consider Victor Oladipo a cash lock as well?
Yeah, I probably do at this point right now, Matt. I also don't hate Eric Gordon either. Yeah. I think these guys are going to carry a bulk of the offense here, along with DeMarcus Cousins. No Christian Wood, so that's about a 28% usage guy that is going to be out. Obviously, Harden off the team as well. So yeah, I think Oladipo looks really good at 8K. I think Boogie's a lock at 4,400, and I don't hate Eric Gordon either at 5,700.
Deshaun Tate's also getting 34 minutes at $4,900. Another option, but he's more GPP worthy. Same thing with PJ Tucker. Dare I say his name yet again? He got 3 points in his last game. It was a blowout, however.
Very good. Yeah, the blowout really affected him.
Yeah, totally a GPP option though for those
Probably
two
would have
players.
got like 6 points if the game was competitive.
6 points. Yeah, that's a ceiling.
I don't want to push it.
Switching over to Detroit, do you have any interest for these guys in cash?
I mean, Grant's a guy that we've been attacking a lot, Matt. I still think he's viable at 8.1, but that's more of a tournament play.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to carry too much ownership. Derrick Rose is cheap at 5,500, but in terms of cash, probably not.
Okay. I completely agree with you. This is a pace-up spot for them. A very bad defense against Houston. Yes, but I think Jeremy Grant's probably the only guy. Who?
Plumlee's cheap.
Plumlee's always cheap.
Boogie.
Yeah.
He could get into if Boogie gets into foul trouble too, and Plumlee can attack whoever is gonna sub in for Boogie. I think that's a real. If they put Tucker at the 5 or Karooks at the 5, like I don't know who else they would put there if Boogie gets into foul trouble. So if Plumlee can go up against a guy like PJ Tucker, I think he's cheap too at 5,300.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I think that's a good spot. Again, Houston defense very, very bad. Let's switch over to the Chicago-Charlotte game. With Chicago, we were actually caught off guard by the amount of value that these guys have without Wendell Carter Jr. on the court. So I'll start off by saying Markkanen gets a crazy boost here. I'm going to go to the top. 27.2% usage, 1.35 fantasy point per minute output. And then 80-minute sample size, so roughly 2 games of sample size. So definitely not that bad. Are you considering any one of these players, specifically Markkanen, for cash?
Yeah, Zeller's back, but I'm not really putting too much stock into this. Like attacking the Charlotte bigs with or without Zeller. So yeah, Markkanen at 6,600. I really do like him. I think he's going to be cash viable pending what else kind of transpires throughout the day. Yeah. But again, Matt, a 4.2% usage bump with Wendell Carter off the floor, 1.35 fantasy point per minute, like you alluded to, 27% usage rate, which is second highest on the team behind Zach Levine. And we still have Patrick Williams that's questionable. So if he sits 2, that just likes me, it just makes some of these guys even more valuable. Another guy, Matt, that gets a big bump is Zach Levine. 3.6% usage bump with Wendell Carter off the floor, 1.52 fantasy point per minute, and a 33% usage rate. I have him pegged as a 5.97 on the sheet, 56.7 DraftKings points. So I'll be interested to see where his ownership comes in before slate.
I think he's going to be high,
I think I'm going to love him for tournaments. But in terms of cash, I think the only person that I'm looking at that's going to be viable is Markkanen. If Gafford does get the start at 3,100, I think he comes into play. But we'll have to wait and see kind of what goes on throughout the day and who Chicago is going to start.
I completely agree with you. And keep in mind, Patrick Williams is projected to play 28 minutes, which is actually pretty high. Right. So if that does go to Otto Porter Jr. and Thaddeus Young, I think those guys become options as well. All right, moving on to Charlotte. Any interest here in cash? I'd say no. TJ, do you agree with that?
No.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. Devontae Graham's cheap, but again, tournament plays here.
It is a pace-up spot. We have to see how many minutes Cody Zeller's going to get. I'm going to assume it's going to stay relatively low. But if he's going to be playing full minutes, I love his price tag. Not saying it's going to happen, but $3,500 for Cody Zeller, a GPP option for sure.
If he was playing minutes for sure. I feel like they minute restrict them tonight, though.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on to Orlando, Indiana. A pace down spot for both these teams, so not too much interest all the way around. I know we've liked what we've been seeing from Vooch, $8,900. Do you have any interest in this Orlando roster whatsoever?
I mean, yes, I do like Vooch again, Matt. Okay. Even at his $8,900 price tag with these guys off the floor, he's still showing a 6.06 on our sheet. I have him pegged for 54 DraftKings points at 8,900. A little bit of a tougher matchup, obviously, going up against Indiana. But even with that being said, if Miles Turner is out, I really do like Vooch. I still think he's undervalued, man, at 8,900. If this game can stay competitive too, I have no problem seeing him play 38, 40 minutes in a competitive game and paying off that price tag. So I do like him. I don't know if I'll get to him in cash, but I definitely think he's viable.
I think he's a GPP candidate for sure because Boogie Cousins is going to take all the ownership, right, for center.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you could go center Utah right there. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yep, there you go. First 2 games are at 7 o'clock, so that will be a contrarian build for sure. Right. Let's go on to Indiana. Any interest here? All these price tags are coming down with the addition of Karis LeVert, but obviously he's not playing anymore. All these price tags, though, are definitely coming down based on what they've been doing, except for Sabonis. Sabonis is going up $9,900. So what are your thoughts on Indiana?
Yeah, the Sabonis price tag is getting a little bit too rich for me. It's all dependent on Miles Turner too. If Miles Turner's out, excuse me, if Miles Turner's out, Matt, like I don't hate some of these guys. I know Doug McDermott, if he can start again and play 32 minutes, like I wouldn't hate him at 5K. It's definitely going to shoot, that's for sure. And if he can hit some threes, he can pay off that price tag. Justin Holiday is another guy that I wouldn't mind as a plug and play, but this is all dependent on Miles Turner's out.
Sure.
So if Miles Turner is in, I'm probably off of these guys. Brogdon and Sabonis for tournaments for sure. I still don't hate that $8,200 price tag for Brogdon, but it's all dependent on Turner, so we'll have to monitor that throughout the day as he's questionable.
And keep in mind, this is going to be a pace down spot for both teams, so definitely not as intrigued as I am with some of these other teams for GPPs. That being said, let's take a look at Brooklyn. So I know we just got the news literally right before we got on with Durant being questionable. If he is held out, guys, I'm sorry, it's so obvious, staring you at the face here. Kyrie Irving, $9,000 is going to be probably a lock, TJ, I would assume. Even with James Harden, James Harden's also going to be close to a lock, at least in cash. If Kevin Durant is held out, where are you looking specifically for this team?
Yeah, it's going to be one of those two studs between Kyrie and James Harden. That's all I'm going to say on it. It's evident, Matt, that that's where we're going to go. And there's really nothing else that needs to be said. If Kevin Durant, that's a guy that garners what, 32, 35, 32% usage. Thank you. So that's going to get dispersed between Harden and Kyrie. It's the leading scorer. They just played Cleveland last game. He put up 77 DraftKings points. So if he is gone, and again, this is the first night of a back-to-back. So they are playing Miami tomorrow. So maybe they rest him tonight against Cleveland. So he's good to go against the Heat. So that's kind of my thought process, especially because he was just thrown on the injury report today. So yeah, if he's out, Kyrie at 9K, going to be a lock. And I probably have interest in Harden too. One of those guys will 100% end up in my cash lineup if KD sits.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Kevin Durant has been the most efficient of the three thus far, so it will definitely impact all these guys. In the first sample size of game that we have between Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden, Kyrie Irving actually had the highest usage rate of the three, James Harden the lowest, but again, that should all equal about, I'd say, 30-ish to 33% between the three of them. I don't think one dominates any one of these three. So that being said, Kyrie Irving's the cheapest. I think he will be very chalky if Kevin Durant is held out for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to Cleveland. Any interest whatsoever? I'm just going to say no for me.
No.
All the price tags are way too high for me.
Sexton did that last game.
It means he'll do it again, right?
Yeah. 7,300.
Yeah, no, they scored 147 points. That's not going to happen again, guys, especially in regular time. Yeah. All right, let's move on then. From Cleveland to Boston. Boston are without Jason Tatum. The only guy I do like for GPPs is going to be your boy, Jaylen Brown. Marcus Smart did come down the price tag, so I guess you could take a stab at him. But anybody else you have interest in, TJ?
I mean, Kemba's been shooting the ball a lot. He's put up 13 and 15 shots in 20 minutes and 22 minutes. So if they're gonna bump his minutes up again tonight at 6,500, I like him in tournaments. Definitely not in cash. So I want to wait and see where his minutes are limited tonight from Brad Stevens. But yeah, I don't have any interest here. I don't hate JB in tournaments, but in cash, I don't have any interest in the Celtics, especially with Kemba being back.
Daniel Tice actually made it into the optimal last slate against Philly. For what it's worth, that means he'll put up exactly 40 points again, TJ. So
the wagon.
Yeah,
they need him against Embiid. So
yeah, so that's another GPP option.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to Philly. Philly has nobody out that's noteworthy. Mike Scott's the only guy in the injury report. Ben Simmons came down in price. Tobias Harris came down in price. Joel Embiid went up. Shake Milton went down. Do you have any interest in any of these guys going down in price tags?
No, so Seth Curry's probable tonight too, so that's going to eat at a guy like Shake Shack, Tobias, Ben Simmons, their usage and their fantasy points per minute for sure. Yeah. If I'm going anywhere, it's going to be back to Embiid again. I said it last time on stream that I thought he was way too cheap at 9,600. If it's going to be competitive against the Celtics again, and he's going to play 30 to 34 minutes in that range, like I think he can pay off that 10.1 price tag pretty easily. Yeah. So I will have some interest in Embiid, more so a tournament play because I think there's some better value out there. And the center position, there's some value for sure. So Yeah, Embiid for tournaments, but with Seth Curry being back, all these other guys, I'm not really too interested in.
Completely agree with you. Let's move on from there. On to Miami. Miami has some questionable tags, specifically on Tyler Hero. If he is held out, I think we can look at Goran Dragic again. $6,000. Do you have any interest in these guys, assuming that Tyler Hero does play?
If Tyler Hero plays, no.
Yeah.
If Tyler Hero's out, I mean, I can't ignore Kendrick Nunn even at 5,400, especially the tear he's been on with Tyler Hero off the floor over these last 3 games. He's been very productive, and he's carried about a 23% usage rate over the last 2 games with Tyler Hero off the floor.
That was against Toronto, man. So it's
he's been very efficient. So if Hero's out, I'm looking at Dragic. I'm looking at Kendrick Nunn. If he's in, no interest here. But if he's out, I'll have some interest in those 2 guys.
Sorry, I was drinking some water. So yeah, as we mentioned, without Butler on the court, Adebayo gets a huge usage bump as well and fantasy point per minute. So I think he's safe too, regardless. Yet another GPP center. There are so many center options on the slate, TJ, to get different from Boogie Cousins. Don't recommend it in cash, but I do recommend it in GPPs. Let's go over to Toronto. Siakam, game time decision. If he's held out, that's going to give a bump to a lot of these guys because we know Siakam's a focal point of their offense and defense. Just a great usage player all the way around. So if he is held out, Lowry, Van Vliet all in play. We haven't ran the numbers because technically he is still questionable. If that news does break closer to lock, do you agree with me saying that one of these guys should be included in your cash lineup?
Yeah, I'd probably be looking at one of those guys or Boucher or OG. So one of these guys is 100% going to pop if Siakam is off the floor. I just want to see what kind of usage we're getting when we take Siakam off the floor.
Live updates from TJ. Good.
Lowry gets a 2.8% usage bump. Boucher doesn't really get anything too crazy. Van Vliet, 0.7% usage bump. Where's OG? 1% usage bump.
So Lowry's a guy, huh?
Van Vliet's a 1.31 fantasy point per minute. Kyle Lowry's a 1.24 fantasy point per minute.
That makes
Boucher,
sense.
1.35 fantasy point per minute. So I think all those guys are going to be honestly viable.
Yeah, Van Vliet and Lowry are pretty much the same person at this point in the season. Take a stab at one of those 2. Van Vliet, though, does play significantly more, or not significantly, plays a little bit more minutes in crunch time. Definitely shoots a lot more, too. So I do like Van Vliet for upside. Lowry's definitely a safer bet, but either one of those guys would be good options here for the Toronto Raptors. Going down to it should be a very high-paced matchup. What's up?
Go ahead.
Very high-paced matchup between Atlanta and Minnesota. So, Capella. What a game. What a game he had last game. His career highs, I believe, in rebounding, scored a tremendous amount of points and also put up 26 boards. He's going to do exactly that again against Minnesota, right? He has to, TJ. At $8,300. What are your thoughts there?
I still like him.
Yeah,
I don't care until he's if he's going to keep playing like high 30 minutes in competitive games. I mean, he just played a Minnesota-less or Minnesota-less or Minnesota without Cat.
Yeah.
I was trying to word that better, but it didn't make sense. You guys got what I was saying. He just played against Minnesota without Cat, played 40 minutes, win for 54 DraftKings points. So I don't see why he can't continue the streak of how productive he's been for Atlanta. He's a 1.32 fantasy point per 1.34 fantasy point per minute. And they haven't pegged for 34 minutes, but if this game's competitive, he's going to play more. It's a fantastic matchup. It's an uptick type matchup against Minnesota, who's terrible defensively, and especially with no Cat, it's going up against Naz Reid and Ned Davis. I might as well be playing center against Capella.
Yeah.
So I still like him at 8,300. I still think he's a little undervalued.
He is, and especially after running numbers, he's actually the best value on this team. I took a stab at
Matt.
What's up?
I have a question. Why did Kevin Huerter go from 5,700 against Minnesota to 9,500 against Detroit and now back down to 5,900?
I'm actually curious. I haven't looked at his. Okay, so he scored 34. So yeah, he was a little off there on hitting the price tag. You know, his normal price tag, TJ, would have been about 5,500.
I told you if he.
I know.
Yeah,
he would have been a very good value play. Yeah,
he would have been a great play. Yeah, for sure.
So that being said, without Cam Reddish and Hunter, I think he's going to be a fantastic play as well. They are still questionable, so we have to be paying attention to that. Also, one of my favorite GPP options on the slate last time was Trae Young. I don't want to toot my own horn, but he was one of the highest scoring players on. Okay, yeah. That was a Trae Young. That's a Trae Young we saw from last season. Without those two players, he did burn you.
Bitter.
Yeah. Okay.
Bitter.
So Trae Young will be a very good GPP option again if those two are held out. Going over the Minnesota, do you have any interest here whatsoever? D'Angelo Russell is probably the only guy I want to talk about, and that's just for GPPs. Do you have any interest here?
Yeah. D'Lo for attorneys, Naz Reid potentially for attorneys as well.
After you just got done roasting him.
Yeah, I know. He's terrible defensively. He's very good offensively. Yeah. Vanderbilt's minutes have been kind of wishy-washy. kind of up and down. So not too sure what's going on with him. But if he starts at the 4 again, like I really don't hate him. Anthony Edwards burned a lot of guys last game against Orlando, where he played 23 minutes and shot 3 of 14, including me, including us. So I think it's a good matchup against Atlanta. So like I wouldn't hate going back to the well with him. But again, more of a tournament play. Yeah, easy. So and that's what I'm saying. I would have some big bucks if Trae Young didn't get OT and Anthony Edwards just didn't shoot 3 of 14, just hit a couple shots.
Yeah, but Anthony Edwards does have some potential. We're not roasting him, just roasting him for the last game. Against Atlanta, I think this is a pacer spot. You can take any GPP shots at any one of these players. So let's move on to the Dallas game, San Antonio. I don't know what to think of Dallas in this matchup. Doncic at 10.9 definitely makes for a contrarian play. With Porzingis back, it definitely does affect, and they haven't projected at 33 minutes now, TJ. So I'm kind of weary about starting these guys. What's your? I want to hear your take on this team.
So I actually rostered Luka last game. I just think Trey Burke off the bench and starting alongside Jalen Brunson. Luka's been on the floor with them, and it's really hurt his value in terms of fantasy point per minute because you have other ball handlers besides Luka. He played a lot of his game. He played a lot of his game against Indiana with Trey Burke and Jalen Brunson alongside of him. So, at 10-9, he still looks really cheap. But, Matt, look at his usage rate over the last 2 games starting alongside Brunson, 23.7 and 25.02. And that is with Porzingis back, obviously. So there's other guys besides Luka that can handle the ball in Trey Burke. And then, obviously, if he continues to start alongside Brunson. We still have DFS out, Kleber, Powell, and Josh Richardson. So I think the upside is there for Luka. I still think he's cheap at 10-9. I still think he's a decent play, honestly. But if you're going away from him, it's a good matchup against the Spurs, who are absolutely trash. So I like him at 10-9. I'm going to try and roster him in cash, but I'm going to have to wait and see, how my builds look. Like if Siakam's out, I'll prioritize a guy like Lowry over Luka, or Van Vliet, one of those two. So for now, yes, I do like him at 10-9. I still think he's viable, but we're going to have to wait and see how the day progresses here.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear your take because, again, Porzingis was so efficient last game. 8.1, I think he's a GPP option. I think any one of these guys are GPP options, including Doncic. But, again, you're going to have to take a pick of one or the other. One of these two will have a ceiling game, or should have a ceiling game anyway. Looking over at the Spurs, one thing that popped to me, and I don't want you guys to be misinformed here.
Oh, God, here we go.
We don't like Aldridge even at 5.5. I will say that right now. His minutes are going down. Pop is finally starting to accept the new wave of the NBA in terms of playing guards and a lot of shooting guards. I really think that we're just going to keep seeing Aldridge regress. I don't like what I'm seeing from him. 5.5, he's still a bad value on our sheet, TJ. I already did the calculation. Projected at 28 minutes. I'm assuming he's going to be chalk, TJ, or at least close to. He's going to carry some ownership. 5.5, just looking at Aldridge, passes the eye test. But based on what we've seen from him so far this season, I do not like this matchup. I don't like him on this roster anymore. I think we can move on from him. DeRozan, 7.9, playing in 35 minutes. I think he's a good GPP option. But other than that, no real interest here for the Spurs. What are your thoughts here?
I always like rostering DeJounte Murray now, because if he can play like 35 minutes, then I think he pays off that price tag. I think it's an appropriate price tag. I think he's always in that range of 32 to 40 DraftKings points. So I'm just waiting for that 50 bomb like he had against Minnesota a couple weeks ago. So I don't hate him at 7,400. Dude, Aldridge is so cheap at 5,500, Matt. How did you just skip over him? Did you even talk about him?
Man. Just,
okay.
Do you have any consideration?
Yeah, he's been very efficient. But yeah, probably. I mean, if I'm choosing between him and Boogie, I'm going Boogie. I don't know how much ownership he's going to carry.
He does play power forward eligibility.
Yeah, he's got some flexibility. If he can play 30 minutes, which I don't know if they're going to give him that.
He's just been so bad
efficient
this season.
Yes, but if he's efficient, he can easily pay off that price tag. So I have some interest, but nothing too crazy.
Okay. I do also think that a lot more value is going to open up as we look a little bit later on in the slate. Like from Atlanta, if those two guards are held out, I think that opens up a tremendous amount of value. So better options in a higher pace matchup there versus Atlanta and Minnesota. Let's switch over to Denver and Phoenix. Or if KD's out. Good point. Let's switch over to Denver and okay. What do you think of Denver?
I mean, Michael Porter's questionable, so if he plays, then I'm kind of off. Most likely everybody here. Jokic for tournaments for sure at 11K, always and forever. Yeah. He's so good. But yeah, if Michael Porter's out, I'm off these guys.
Do you think he has a shot at MVP this year?
Jokic?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I think so
Depending on
too.
how Denver finishes. Yep.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I really do, and that's very exciting to see a player like him make it into the MVP conversation. All right, switching over to Phoenix. Ayton went berserk last game, $7,600. We
Who
called
talked about him on stream?
I said we, but you did call it. I said one of these players would have a very good game. $7,600, 5.1 point per dollar value here from Fantasy Cruncher. What are your thoughts here on Ayton?
Sorry, we always got to just toot our own horns, right? Yeah, I mean, I think that might have been his ceiling game, honestly, against Houston. Good matchup.
Very good matchup.
So 62 DraftKings points. He's going to do it again, right, against Denver. No, tougher matchup. So I don't really have any interest here in Phoenix in terms of cash. Chris Paul, always intriguing at 7,200.
Yeah.
Booker Matt, 8K. Yeah, he's really good, right? He's below 1 fantasy point per minute this year. He's trash.
Yeah, that Chris Paul effect really hurt him. It's kind of sad to see what's going on over there.
fantasy point per minute this year.
Yeah, different player.
Crazy.
Whatever. Moving on to OKC here, we have Roby starting yet again because Al Horford is held out. Horford. Roby at 5.4 point per dollar value here. Do you have any interest in him for cash? I think his price tag is a little too high.
I mean, his price tag is creeping up there at 5K, but with Horford off the floor, Matt, he's been very productive for OKC. Hasn't seen a crazy amount of minutes, but if he can stay out of foul trouble and play 28, which he has only played one time against Orlando, I think he can pay off this price tag at 5K. I think he's a good pivot off of a guy like DeMarcus Cousins at 4,400 who's going to carry a ton of ownership, and he does have power forward eligibility. So I don't hate him. Dude, Bazley 4,900 is very cheap. He has not been very good as of late, but he piques my interest a little bit there. George Hill at 4,200, very cheap as well. Another guy who hasn't been good. OKC in general has not been good.
Yeah.
On the road against the Clippers as 13-point dogs could easily be a blowout, Matt. So I'll probably avoid these guys, but for tournaments, I am going to be on them because I think there's a lot of upside if they can stay competitive with the Clippers.
This is the one game where I'm concerned about blowout potential. 13-point spread is
very high.
But if it's
competitive, Matt.
But if it's competitive,
with these price tags.
Yep. Dare I say SGA too? I've been off of him all year. I don't think I've played SGA. He's either bit me or just completely saved my lineups because he's been bad chalk. But yeah, that seems close.
I'm gonna say it now.
What?
I'm gonna say it now. OKC stays competitive, and 3 of these guys end up in the optimal.
No,
that's my bold take.
There's no way. You're insane. There's a third. Yeah, I'm about to say 13 game slate. There's no way. Okay.
2 of them.
That's fine. I'll take 2.
Bazley and Dort. Bazley and SGA. So I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think SGA would definitely make it into the optimal if it
4 of them end up in the optimal.
You're so great. Okay, let's move on to the Clippers. Lou Will, 5.5 point per dollar value, $3,700. That's kind of funny just to see. But he hasn't been playing minutes. Marcus Morris playing 26. Kawhi Leonard. I guess the question is, if these guys don't blow them out, do you have any interest here?
Sure. Paul George at 9,300, I would have interest in if this game doesn't blow out. If Lou does play, which he should, he played 15 minutes
crazy
against Sacramento.
To see that price tag.
Yeah, very cheap. He just hasn't been really in the rotation or anything. So, no, I don't really have any interest there.
Yeah, okay. Moving on to the very last game on the slate, the Knicks, because they're the best team in the NBA now, based on what they did last night to the Golden State Warriors. Mitchell Robinson, 5.9K, had a very good game. Same thing with Julius Randle. They're playing, yet again, no defense whatsoever. Do you have any interest here?
Yeah, I'm going to have interest in Julius Randle again. Like what I saw last night against Golden State, I don't think Van Gundy's afraid to play him on a back-to-back the same amount of minutes that we saw. So, yes, I think it's a fantastic matchup for a guy like Julius Randle against the Sacramento Bigs. RJ Barrett was incredible last night against Golden State, especially in the fourth quarter, man. He looked very good. So I'll probably have some interest there potentially, but more of a tournament play. I think if I'm looking anywhere, it is going to be Julius Randle at 9,100.
I've never seen more quickly questions in our Discord, and yesterday it was weird.
With Burks coming back, I said it over and over again. With Burks coming back, I'm off quickly.
Yeah.
Burks coming back, I'm off.
And there were people that still played them. So
avoided that.
What's up,
guys?
I
hope you guys.
Come on.
I didn't get that.
Be better, guys. Be better.
Yeah.
All right, Sacramento. Last but not least, Rashawn Holmes, 5.6 point per dollar value, 6.3K. We have Marvin Bagley, questionable, I believe.
No, he's good.
Okay, he's good. And then Hassan Whiteside always has that questionable tag. He should, just based on his performance. Yeah, he's trash. And then Harrison Barnes, $5,800. I love to see that. TJ, do you have any interest here?
Back down. Yep. Well, Harrison Barnes is coming back down to earth a little bit there, Matt.
So is his price tag, though.
De'Aaron Fox, Matt. I think I like De'Aaron a lot. No, De'Aaron Fox, 8,800, very cheap.
So many new guys are watching our videos and they're like, who are these idiots?
Yeah, who's saying De'Aaron Fox? Sorry. We can cut that if you want. But yes, Matt used to struggle with De'Aaron's name.
I'm glad you explained it.
You're welcome. De'Aaron Fox in a competitive game against the Knicks. I mean, Sacramento was legitimately the worst defensive team in the NBA. So if this game blows out, like, De'Aaron's a fantastic play at 8,800. I think he's going to be a really good tournament play. Dare I say Buddy Hield's name? Not going to do it.
Don't do it.
Not going to do it. I don't hate Rashawn Holmes at 6,300. More of a tournament play for me. But I think he might carry some ownership along with Bagley. I think if I had to choose between the two, I would save some money and get Bagley at 5,500. Yeah, I think more tournament plays here. I don't really have any cash interest.
Completely agree with you. I think Harrison Barnes is always going to make the list as long as he's below 6K.
Okay.
One of my favorite players ever in the history of the NBA. I'm just kidding. All right, let's go ahead and end this video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, please do hit that subscription button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button for all of our future NBA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day. Let's cash.
Bye, guys.